and welcome to Chore Chapters, because everyday tasks need good company. I'm Leo, and with me as always, we have got Luna.
Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today we've got a thrilling and interesting story lined up, so grab your headphones and let's dive straight into the story.
Welcome. Today we're diving deep into a really unsettling, still unsolved mystery from 1980s Southern California.
Yeah, Anaheim. Most people think, Disneyland, family fun.
Right, sunshine. But for one family, it became the backdrop for this terrifying psychological campaign.
And absolutely terrifying. Marked by threats, like that one quote.
Oh, yeah, the one about being cut up into bits so no one will ever find you, just chilling.
Exactly. And the target of that threat was Dorothy Jane Scott.
32 years old, a single mother, by all accounts very devout, a Christian, quiet, really focused on her 4-year-old son, Shanti.
Which makes her job somewhat surprising, doesn't it?
It really does. She worked as a secretary for 2 stores in Anaheim. One sold, psychedelic stuff, posters, that kind of thing.
And the other was basically a head shop, selling paraphernalia.
Yeah, quite the contrast to her personal life, her faith. And then months before she vanished, these anonymous calls started.
Disturbing calls. Sometimes professing love, other times those threats.
Just swinging wildly. And the stalker knew things, knew her routine.
That dead red rose left on her car windshield.
Yeah.
That's such a potent, dark symbol he was watching closely.
So our mission today, really, is to unpack this whole horrifying timeline, but also we need to look at stalking itself.
Yeah, because back then it wasn't even legally recognized as a crime in the U.S. That's crucial context.
Absolutely. We'll get into some surprising facts, the challenges the police faced, and just the lasting impact of this relentless, unsolved torment.
It's vital to put Dorothy's experience in the context of that time. 1990, that's when California enacted the first anti-stalking law in the U.S. Before that,
nothing specific on the books, so the police, even if they believed her, their hands were sort of tied, legally speaking.
Pretty much. Harassment, maybe trespassing, but nothing that captured the pattern of psychological terror that is stalking. Law enforcement lacked the specific tools.
Wow. And she endured months of this. Calls at work, calls at home.
And the caller knew intimate details, even commenting on what she was wearing sometimes.
That's terrifying. It shows such a level of surveillance. Her fear must have been immense. She even thought about getting a handgun.
Right, but worried about having it in the house with her son. She decided on karate lessons instead, for self-defense.
But she didn't tell her parents the full story, or even the police, really.
She seemed reluctant. Maybe she felt embarrassed or didn't want to worry them, or perhaps she felt, what could they really do? Especially without clear laws. It highlights how isolating being stalked like that could be.
Yeah, trapped.
And this really gets to the core of what stalking is. Forensic psychology tells us it's less about just watching and much more about contact and control. Stalkers aren't usually just passive observers.
Okay.
They crave a connection, a relationship, even if it's entirely negative, based on fear. It's this perverse desire for control, for forcing themselves into the victim's life.
That's what makes them so dangerous then. Not just the watching, but the need to interact, to control.
Precisely. It's a calculated psychological assault. It's about dominance. And remember that National Institute of Justice study later on in the late 90s.
Yeah, the one with the shocking numbers.
Exactly. Estimated 1.4 million Americans were being stalked annually, 7 times higher than people thought. It just showed how hidden this problem was.
Which brings us to that awful night, May 28th, 1980.
Dorothy was at an employee meeting around 9 p.m.
Right. And she noticed her coworker, Conrad Bostron, wasn't looking well. His arm was inflamed.
Looked like a spider bite, maybe a bad one.
And Dorothy, being compassionate, she insisted on driving him to the ER at UC Irvine Medical Center.
Another coworker, Pam Head, went along with them.
But before they went straight to the hospital, they made a quick stop.
Yeah, a brief stop at her parents' house, just to check on her son, Shanti, and let them know her plans.
And while she was there, she changed something small, her scarf.
Swapped a black one for a red one. Seems insignificant, but...
It becomes incredibly important later. A detail police didn't release. So they get to the hospital. Conrad gets treated. Turns out it was a black widow bite.
Ouch. Yeah.
He's discharged around 11:00 p.m. Dorothy offers to go get her car from the parking lot, bring it around front since he's not feeling great.
So Pam and Conrad are waiting outside the hospital entrance.
And then they see it. Dorothy's car, a white 1973 Toyota station wagon.
Speeding out of the parking lot.
But the high beams are on, right? Blinding them.
Totally blinding them. Impossible to see who was driving.
So their first thought wasn't necessarily abduction?
No, not at all. Their initial innocent assumption was maybe she got an urgent call about Shanti, an emergency at home.
Makes sense. But she never came back.
They waited. An hour, maybe two, growing more and more concerned.
Then they reported her missing.
And the next discovery was just grim. 4:30 a.m., May 29th.
Her car, found in an alley in Santa Ana about 10 miles away.
Engulfed in flames.
Police get there. The headlights were still on, driver's side door open.
And clear signs an accelerant was used. Definitely arson.
So, foul play was obvious, a deliberate attempt to destroy evidence.
Undeniable.
And with no immediate answers, no breakthroughs, Dorothy's father, Jacob, he couldn't just sit back.
No, despite police initially asking the family to keep quiet, maybe hoping the kidnapper would make contact.
He went to the press, the Orange County Register.
They published the first story on June 12, 1980.
And later that same day, the phone rings at the newspaper office.
Pat Riley, the managing editor, picks up. And it's a man's voice.
Saying what?
I killed her. I killed Dorothy Scott. She was my love. I caught her cheating with another man. She denied having someone else. I killed her.
Wow. Just like that. A confession.
But what made police take it incredibly seriously were the details he gave.
Details that weren't in the newspaper story.
Exactly. He mentioned Conrad Bostron's spider bite.
Okay.
And he mentioned Dorothy was wearing a red scarf.
The red scarf? The detail only someone who saw her after she left her parents' house could know.
Precisely. That convinced investigators he was involved. Or was the killer himself?
But there was a contradiction in his story, wasn't there? Something about a phone call.
Yes. The caller claimed Dorothy had phoned him from the hospital.
But Pam Head, the co-worker who was with her.
Pam stated very clearly that Dorothy was with her the entire time at the hospital, except for maybe a quick trip to the restroom. She definitely didn't make any calls like that.
So the killer's adding details, but maybe lying about how he knew things or trying to twist the narrative?
It seems likely. It could be a deliberate lie to assert control, maybe implied Dorothy contacted him willingly, or perhaps a delusion. But Pam's account is considered reliable. It casts doubt on his specific claim about the call.
It's that control thing again, isn't it? Even controlling the story after she's gone.
Absolutely. And that need for control extended in the most agonizing way imaginable to her family.
The phone calls.
For 4 years, 4 agonizing years, Jacob and Vera Scott, her parents, received these anonymous calls.
Almost every Wednesday afternoon, right? Primarily to Vera, her mother.
The caller would ask if Dorothy was home, or sometimes he'd claim he still had her. Other times that he'd killed her.
I cannot even begin to imagine the psychological torture of that every Wednesday, waiting for that call.
It's horrific, a living nightmare delivered by telephone. And the calls were always brief.
Deliberately brief, you think, to avoid being traced.
Almost certainly. Police tried, even later installing a recorder, but 1980s technology just wasn't up to tracing such short calls effectively.
And the Scotts, they didn't change their number.
No, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
They held on to this desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, the caller did have her, and one day he might let them speak to her.
Oh, that's just unbearable hope.
This prolonged torment, it really speaks to the killer's pathology. The murder wasn't the end of his obsession.
It just shifted.
It shifted into controlling and tormenting her family. The consistency, the Wednesday calls, it almost feels ritualistic. A sick way of marking his crime.
Then something changed in 1984, April 84.
Yes. A slight shift in the pattern. The caller phoned the Scott residence one evening, not the usual Wednesday afternoon.
And Jacob, Dorothy's father, answered the phone, not Vera.
Right. And after that specific call, where Jacob answered, the call stopped, abruptly, for several months.
That's significant, isn't it? Why stop just because the father answered?
It's a fascinating behavioral clue. It suggests a level of caution we hadn't seen as clearly before. He was willing to risk taunting Vera, but Jacob was different.
So maybe he knew Jacob personally, or was afraid Jacob might recognize his voice.
That's the strong implication. Fear of recognition. It suggests the killer might have been closer to the family, perhaps socially or professionally, than previously thought. He perceived Jacob as a higher risk. It adds a layer of calculation to his actions.
Wow. Okay, so the call stopped for a bit. Then, August 6th, 1984, more than 4 years after she vanished.
A construction crew was digging a trench near Santa Ana Canyon Road, North Anaheim.
And they found her remains.
Partial human remains. Skull, pelvis, arm bones, thigh bones, partly charred.
Charred. From the original crime.
Investigators believe the charring was actually from a bushfire that went through that area about 2 years earlier in October 1982.
Okay. So the remains had been there for some time, and there were dog bones found nearby, too.
Yes, which isn't uncommon. Animal scavenging can disturb remains left outdoors.
And identifying remains like that, especially charred, must be incredibly difficult.
Extremely challenging. Fire damages DNA, warps bone. It's why, ultimately, a specific cause of death for Dorothy could never be determined from the remains.
But they were identified.
Yes, about a week later, August 14th, 1984, dental records confirmed it was Dorothy Jane Scott.
And they found some personal items with her.
A turquoise ring and a watch. Vera, her mother, confirmed they were Dorothy's.
And the watch. That provided a really chilling detail, didn't it?
It did. The watch had stopped, frozen at 12:30 a.m., May 29th, 1980.
Just about an hour after her car was seen speeding away from the hospital parking lot.
Exactly. It's like this silent, poignant timestamp of potentially her final moments, or close to them.
Yeah.
Adds this eerie precision to the timeline.
So her remains are found, identified, closure of a sort, but still no killer. And then?
The torment wasn't over. In a truly disturbing twist, after months of silence following that call, Jacob answered.
The call started again, after her remains were found.
Yes. The anonymous calls to the Scott family resumed.
Oh my God, that's just cruel beyond words.
Police installed a voice recorder then, really hoping to capture his voice.
But it didn't work. Still too brief.
Still too brief. The technology just wasn't there to trace or get a usable recording from those short, taunting calls. A major frustration for the investigation.
So law enforcement, their prime suspect has always been this caller, right?
Overwhelmingly, yes. The taunting, the specific unpublicized knowledge, it points directly to him being the killer.
But his stated motive, the cheating claim he made to the newspaper, that doesn't fit who Dorothy was.
Not according to anyone who knew her. Family, friends, they all described her as devout, focused on her son, not involved in any relationships like that. It strongly suggests his motive was a fabrication, a delusion perhaps, to justify what he did.
A self-serving narrative.
Very common for offenders like this. Externalizing blame, creating a distorted reality.
Now, over the years, especially online, other names have come up. There's a theory about a mechanic, Mike Butler.
Yeah, that's floated around online forums. He worked next door to one of the shops where Dorothy was a secretary. His sister also worked with Dorothy.
So, potential access, maybe overheard things?
Possibly. Some descriptions called him a little strange, maybe interested in alternative beliefs or the occult. Dorothy's son, Sean, apparently held a childhood belief Butler was involved, based on rumors he heard growing up.
But nothing official, no police confirmation or evidence linking him?
No public official evidence has ever linked Mike Butler to the crime. He's never been named as a formal suspect by law enforcement. It remains speculation.
Crucial distinction. And other leads. Her son's father.
Dennis Terry, the biological father, yes. He was looked at very early on, but had a solid alibi and was quickly ruled out.
And police initially mentioned having 3 men of interest.
They did, early in the case. But those individuals were never publicly identified, and it's unclear what came of those leads.
And inevitably, given the time and place, people wonder about connections to other big cases, like the Golden State Killer.
It's a question that comes up given his activity in California. But it's really important to stress, no official connection has ever been established by law enforcement.
The MO seems different too, right? GSK was more home invasion, sexual assault.
Exactly. Dorothy's case screams of a targeted stalking, a personal obsession, culminating in abduction and murder. It feels different from GSK's known patterns. While you can't rule anything out completely in a cold case, there's no evidence pointing that way.
So after all these years, where does the case stand?
Officially, the murder of Dorothy Jane Scott remains unsolved. It's classified as an active cold case with the Orange County Sheriff's Department Homicide Task Force. Still open. Still waiting for that one piece of information.
It's just such a haunting case. A killer who not only murdered her, but then engaged in this prolonged psychological torture of her family for years and got away with it.
Completely. It really hammers home that historical context we talked about. This happened before stalking was a crime.
Right, 1990. Her ordeal was in 1980. It makes you think, doesn't it? About the vulnerability back then?
Immense vulnerability. For victims trying to get help, for police trying to intervene without the right legal tools, without the technology for tracing calls effectively.
You really have to ask yourself how many other cases, like Dorothy's, maybe less publicized, just fell through the cracks before stalking laws existed. How different could her story have been?
It's a sobering thought. Would she have been taken more seriously sooner? Could intervention have happened? We'll never know.
And because this is an active cold case, if anyone listening has any information, anything at all, no matter how small it seems,
Please contact the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Decades have passed, but sometimes all it takes is one small memory, one connection someone makes now to finally bring justice.
absolutely. And finally, this case just leaves you with this chilling idea, doesn't it? The impact of an unseen enemy, a voice on the phone, a shadow controlling, lives through fear.
When the perpetrator is unknown, never caught, it casts this long, dark shadow, like you said, almost American Gothic, over a family, over a whole community.
It really urges you to think about the hidden struggles, the unseen fears that can exist right beneath the surface, even in places that seem perfectly ordinary and safe.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out. Until next time, take care and keep your chores company.